Hey Kevin, Craig from Wisconsin here. Sorry for a little bit of a delay. I've got some things going on, a home remodeling project, and I'm going to go through some of the basic gameplay on these one ball horse machines. They're all pretty much the same, and I'll show you a couple of my games or a few of my games here that I've got out. So let's take a peek. This first one here, let's see if I can back up, not get too much of the debris in here. This is a photo finish. It's one of the last of the games, of the one ball horse games. Again, they are all pretty much the same. You will see they've got these 4 different tiers in here, from purse to show to place to win. And if you look at the artwork on many of the machines, it will go along with the idea of a race that is, starting out, and then somewhere in the around the first turn, into the backstretch, and around to the post, and then the tiers of the game correspond to the odds. So the further down the field you can place the ball, typically the better your odds, your payout is going to be, or your credits are going to be. The vast majority of my games, with the exception of a few, are payout games. In other words, they were gambling games, and they usually had a little hidden door in here where, well, there's a payout in there. Hidden door where you'd have a payout, or you'd have there might be like a big award, a special coin that was released on some of the units. This is one of those in the 1937 Mills big race here, which would allow 7 people or 7 different bettors to bet on the horses here. So the basic gameplay, I've plugged in my 1941 Bally Fairmont here, and I'll go through that with you. The tiers, again, are going to be purse, show, place, and then win as it comes down the field. And we'll drop a nickel in there. This game has an auto feed. So it was an add-on, a kind of a deluxe thing. So you would just drop the nickel in. So here's the deal. On your machine, I'm guessing it's no different than these. The basic area to look for are the numbers of the horses, typically 1 through 7. And if you ever get a couple numbers lit up, that's fine. Or if you get 3 numbers lit up, that's fine. And on rare occasions, you might get all 7 numbers lit up. My first game over here, my 1938 Bally Seabiscuit, which is a super rare machine. When I first got into this, there was no instructions, nothing online. And I finally got the thing going, and it kept, occasionally lighting up 2 numbers, and then, 3 of the horses would light up, and I'm like, oh, this thing's malfunctioning. Well, it just turns out you have a better chance at odds there. So you queue up the nickel, and if you will notice on your machine, I think your machine has a little wire down there. You'll notice that when you get the ball into position, it depresses that wire. So this would give you an opportunity at this time, if the player wanted to up their chance or change their horse or anything. And in some cases, certain machines will allow you to improve odds. In other words, win a bigger bet than just 2 to 1 odds on a show position here. You could add those nickels accordingly. Oh, almost had a winner. So this is the reason many of these games are in such good condition playfield wise, is unlike a flipper game, you don't have a ton of ball play on the field. And it's a pretty passive ball as it just rolls about. You will notice that more often than not, the ball is going to fall into the center of the field here. So more often than not, you're going to get a 1 or a 2 or a 7 or a 6 that light up, right? So the game engineers have figured that into the equation here, because they know, based on the design of the field and where the pins are, more often than not, and where the springs are in some games, more often than not, that ball is going to fall into the middle of the field. Of course, anytime I'm doing a video, I don't get a winner. And of course, it gave me the 1. We'll try another shot here. So this game, again, has that automatic coin feed. And not unusual to load a lot of, in this case, nickels into the machine. And most of the machines were nickel play. It just so happens, I believe my number 5 is burned out. So the one time I actually managed to plant the ball into the 1, of course. No, it's my 6. It's my number 6 that's got a burned out bulb. Yeah, of course, we're not going to win anything while I'm shooting a video. So what I've got here is a 1938 Bally Seabiscuit, a 1941 Bally Fairmont. There's other aspects of these games. The later they got, the more advanced they get. The gameplay also got. So you'll see you'll have a numbers game that allows if you've got a winner, or you drop the ball, or you light the bumpers on the field accordingly, the ABC. You can see the ABCs light up. So it gives you a whole different different levels of gameplay that you can aim for. So it's not just always just trying to drop the ball into the winning horse. This is in 1952. This is the last game, the last one-ball horse race game. It's a 1952 Bally Sunshine Park. And this, again, this is a relatively rare game. This is a credit game. So the credit games, I believe yours is a credit game, but they would log credits on the back screen. And this was one way to kind of get around gambling. And the way that the payout, as it were to take place is you would be in whatever establishment, whether it was a corner bar or whether it was a higher end nightclub or what have you. You would kind of rake in credits, and then when you got to the point where you've got I've got 720 credits, you would go up to the bar, you'd go up to the whoever the owner operator was, and you'd show them the credits on the screen, and they would pay you at the bar. So kind of a fun way to get around the gambling laws. Ultimately, the Johnson Act, that was legislation that outlawed these machines, and they made their kind of brief appearance. I think I mentioned 1935, 34 may have been some of the early ones. But by 1952, 53, they were pretty much all gone. And they were because they were relatively large, and other games had kind of taken the place, and slots had taken the place, and bingo machines really became the rage. These machines really were kind of discarded, destroyed, and before World War II, and as we entered World War II, the scrap drives really did eat up a lot of the supplies here as well. The tons of electronics inside. The machines on the inside, this Seabiscuit was pretty much of a basket case. It was in terrible shape. And again, it is the only one I've seen in my probably 20 years of collecting. It came out in 1938, right in the end of 1938. A Seabiscuit was running against War Admiral, which I've got kind of a fun little homage there to the Seabiscuit War Admiral race. You'll notice, I think I noticed in your machine, a lot of the Jones plugs, these are called Jones plugs, were just kind of laying aside. You'll find that while it looks relatively complex, and it is, but the Jones plugs typically only go in, if you really kind of examine them, they only go in their own, like there's 3 plugs here. This plug would not go in here, and this plug would not go in here, and this plug would not go in here, because the pin count is generally different. The orientation of the plug is blocked by a little metal tab here, so you can't plug the Jones plug-in backwards. It's like there's only one way they go. And if you look at the wire colors, generally they were pretty good. Bally was really good at wire coloring, so whatever color wires are on the top of the Jones plug are typically coming out of the bottom there as well. The big hassle, and then I'll cut this video short, the big hassle for these machines is all of the points. Those are contacts. I call them points because they're very similar to old ignition points that were, commonplace in old vehicles, well, up until, the 1980s. And cleaning those points is something that will probably be, I find it therapeutic, but probably is going to be the big effort for you. Not only just cleaning them, but making sure that they're all operating properly, because there's these stack switches here, and sometimes they get bent, and sometimes they aren't aligned, and sometimes they aren't making the contact they should mechanically when the demand is asked of them. In other words, when there's electric circuit put on the solenoid to pull down those stack switches. So I can cover a lot more, but I've got 14 different games. I've got probably 3 or 4 that I'm currently working on, conserving and bringing back. This is probably the one I did the most extensive work. It is the only one I've ever seen, and it was just an absolute basket case. And it was in a barn, and rodents had eaten out the holes and had nested in it. It was just a total disaster, but I love the artwork, and I guess that's one of the things that appealed to me the most. So, and along with that, I've got all sorts of goodies on the wall that relate to that. This is actually Steve Brooks, the Hall of Fame jockey who rode Citation. And I didn't pay much of anything for it, but managed to come across it. And I've got this little racing program from Sunshine Park. I actually tracked it down. It was March 13th, which coincidentally is my birthday, but March 12th was the production day for the Sunshine Park here. So I thought that was kind of fun. And I've got some racing silks here that I've just framed and put together, and so it all started with old Seabiscuit here. I'd collected pins, older pins from the wood rail pins from the 40s and 50s, and then I just came across Seabiscuit here again as a basket case, and I had no knowledge or familiarity with these one balls, but being a graphic designer by trade, I just love the artwork, and just did a whole bunch of research and dug out a bunch of history on these things. So anyways, you've got a gorgeous machine. I have to say that. It looks like it's in phenomenal shape, and I think that's a really good thing in that it's probably in as good a shape on the inside as well. So when it comes time for you to, kind of focus on getting that machine running, and it absolutely will run. I guarantee you, unless somebody's removed a whole bunch of parts, that machine absolutely will run. You'll be able to, drop on cue. Oop. Uh-oh. There we go. You'll be able to, drop a nickel in there, play games, and somewhere online there's probably a PDF of actually one while I was yapping away here, and it dropped a nickel. There it is, my retirement fund. Somewhere online, I'm sure there's probably a PDF that will at least give us a wiring diagram for that machine. I generally, I'm not an electrician, I'm not a tech. I just kind of look and kind of figure out what isn't working and what isn't working by visual inspection. It's very much a kind of a rudimentary approach to diagnostics, but I'm convinced any man can do it. So that's it. And yeah, I love that the silk flag at the bottom. You know, I've dressed up this entire room, and you make it your own. You make it your own setting. So, and yeah, it's pretty remarkable how one machine can get kind of shape. Yeah, and I've come across these racing saddles. You know, it's funny because you find this stuff, and generally speaking, people don't even know what it is. Like, oh, it's an old saddle. This turns out it's from the 1920s, a racing saddle. I made the stand for that.